When I moved into the apartment, I thought it was the beginning of an exciting new chapter in my life. It was my first time living on my own, and the place seemed perfect: affordable rent, close to campus, and 3 friendly roommates, Julia, Amanda, and Chloe. At first, they were great, welcoming, helpful, and eager to include me. But as the days passed, I noticed strange things about them. They whispered to each other in hushed voices when they thought I wasn't around, and sometimes, they'd stop talking entirely when I entered the room. I tried to brush it off, but something about the way they looked at me, like I was some kind of prey, made me feel uneasy. The first night, I had a vivid nightmare. I was tied to a chair in the dark, unable to move. My roommates stood around me, their faces pale and emotionless, chanting in a strange language. Their voices were guttural, inhuman. When I woke up, I was drenched in sweat. I tried to shake it off as stress from the move, but when I went to the bathroom, I noticed a faint bruise around my wrist. It was in the exact spot where I'd been tied in the dream. That wasn't the last nightmare. Each night, they got worse, more vivid, more violent. One day, while the others were out, I found a door at the end of the hallway that was always locked. Something about it drew me in, like it was calling to me. When Julia came home, I asked her about it. Her face turned cold. "That room's not for you," she said, her voice devoid of emotion. That night, the nightmares escalated. I dreamt I was being dragged into the locked room, screaming, as my roommates laughed and carved strange symbols into my skin. When I woke up, I found scratches on my arms. The following evening, I came home late from class to find the apartment eerily quiet. The lights were off, and the air was thick with the scent of burning incense. I walked into the living room and froze. Julia, Amanda, and Chloe were sitting in a circle, candles lit around them, their faces painted with blood-red symbols. "We've been waiting for you," Amanda said, her usual cheerfulness replaced with a menacing tone. Before I could react, Julia lunged at me. She pinned me to the ground, her hands impossibly strong. I screamed and fought back, but Amanda and Chloe grabbed my arms, dragging me toward the locked door. Inside the room, I saw what they'd been hiding: a crude altar made of bones and bloodied fabric. Symbols I didn't recognize were painted on the walls, and the air reeked of death. They tied me to a chair, just like in my nightmares. Chloe produced a knife, its blade jagged and rusted. She smiled for the first time since I'd moved in, and it was the most horrifying thing I'd ever seen. "This is where you become one of us," Julia whispered, her face inches from mine. I thrashed against the ropes, screaming for help, but no one came. Julia raised the knife, carving a symbol into my forearm as I held in pain. As the ritual continued, I felt something primal awaken in me, pure, desperate survival. When Chloe leaned in to whisper something, I bit her, hard. She screamed and stumbled back, dropping the knife. I seized the opportunity. Using all my strength, I broke free from the chair and grabbed the knife. They lunged at me, but I slashed wildly, catching Amanda across the arm. Blood sprayed onto the walls, and her scream was deafening. Julia tackled me to the ground, but I managed to stab her in the side. She shrieked, her voice distorted, almost animalistic. Amanda and Chloe kept coming, their movements jerky and unnatural, like puppets being controlled. I stabbed and swung, the room descending into chaos. Blood pooled around me as I fought for my life. When I finally stumbled free from the tangle of blood and bodies, I could barely see through the haze of terror and adrenaline. Julia was writhing on the floor, clutching her side and muttering something guttural, her eyes glowing faintly in the dim candlelight. Amanda and Chloe, bloodied and wild-eyed, still tried to corner me, but they were slower now, injured from the chaos. I grabbed the knife from the floor and ran toward the door, kicking over one of the candles in the process. The flame caught on the edge of a tattered rug, quickly spreading. "Get back here!" Amanda screeched, her voice no longer human. It sounded like a distorted blend of several voices, echoing unnaturally. I sprinted through the hallway, my heart pounding. Behind me, I could hear the crackle of fire and the shrieks of my roommates. I didn't know if they were in pain or just enraged, but I didn't dare look back. When I reached the front door, it wouldn't budge. It felt as if something invisible was holding it shut. I screamed in frustration, banging against it as Chloe's footsteps grew louder behind me. "You're not leaving," she said, her voice calm and chilling. I turned and, in one final act of desperation, hurled the knife at her. It wasn't a clean throw, it grazed her shoulder, but it was enough to make her stumble. I used the moment to grab a nearby chair and smash the living room window. Glass shattered everywhere, and I didn't hesitate. I climbed through the broken frame, cutting my hands and legs on the shards, and fell onto the grass. As I limped away, coughing from the smoke now billowing out of the apartment, I saw them through the shattered window. Amanda and Chloe stood side by side, their faces illuminated by the growing flames. Julia was on the floor behind them, laughing hysterically as the fire consumed the room. "You can't run from us," Amanda said, her voice carrying through the night as if she were speaking directly into my mind. "You'll always be one of us." I stumbled onto the street just as my dad's car screeched to a halt. He jumped out and ran toward me, his face pale with fear. "What happened?" he yelled, grabbing me by the shoulders. "Drive," I screamed, pointing toward the burning apartment. "We have to go now." He didn't ask questions. He helped me into the car and sped off. As we drove away, I looked back one last time. The entire building was engulfed in flames, but in the upstairs window, I could still see them standing there, watching me. Their faces were calm, their eyes glowing faintly through the smoke. It's been weeks since that night, and I'm still trying to piece myself back together. The burns and cuts on my body have mostly healed, but the nightmares haven't stopped. I dream of the chanting, of the locked room, of their glowing eyes. Sometimes, I hear whispers in my own house now. At first, I thought it was just my imagination, but last night, I woke up to find something carved into my bedroom wall. "We're waiting." I don't know what they did to me that night or why they chose me. All I know is, no matter where I go, I'll never really be free of them. If you want more scary stories like this, kindly leave a comment, like, subscribe and follow for more creepy stories.